flank. GSL. In the service of ire.
Get ready, get set. It is time for the Code A evening session here with Caldor and Wolf, GOMTV.
Yeah, and we just started in time to cut off that horrible IU video that always annoys me.
Yeah, man, that video, I love IU actually probably more than anybody in the esports community. But listen, she's going down the wrong path.
That video is horrible. I hate it so much. Might just be me, but it's like... Oh.
No, I don't think it's just you, because certainly it's also me.
Okay.
So I don't think it's just us either. That video... It's sending the wrong messages.
When they dance around this wooden thingy with a sword and like...
Has anyone ever had a campfire like that at her age?
With girls?
No.
Guys might do that.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
Then usually they end up hurting themselves with some wooden sticks that they find somewhere and someone has to clean up after them.
Stop playing with those sticks. You're going to poke somebody's eye. The kids don't listen. Then somebody gets their eye poked out. It's a tragic story. But...
I've never seen a girl act like, hey, I'm a pirate, let's go for it. It's like, what?
Well, let's have a sleepover party and cook marshmallows together. Listen, I know IU had a song called Marshmallow that was pretty catchy.
I don't even want to see
Opening season of GSL, she played it and all that, but...
I'll pass.
So...
Thankfully, StarCraft 2 interrupted the video, so we are heading into our first game of the evening session today. We had 4 matches already earlier this day, but now we are having a Terran versus Zerg as the first game.
It's going to be the STC up against BBoongBBoong. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
BBoongBBoong, a really underrated player. The STC performing well at DreamHack recently. He's been able to kind of pop back into Code A here. We'll see what he's going to do.
But before we start with all of this, we are having a quick look at the matches that we've seen earlier today.
Yeah. Take a look at our previous results. Here they are.
That's actually the last week, if I'm not mistaken. That is currently, yes, exactly. That was Shine against Last. Whoops. And here we go with the second set. Both foreigners, as already mentioned in the GNN broadcast earlier, were not able to advance and are now down in Code B.
Yeah, and Flash lost his first set in individual leagues today in StarCraft 2. Or not today, but last time. Now, here are matching this morning.
No, Flash won.
Yeah, but he lost his first set, like one single game. We're going to have the results of these in an interview, so if you didn't watch earlier, you want to watch the VODs, cover your ears, minimize this or something, and we'll be back in about 45 seconds. We're about to see who won today. Here they are.
네, 안녕하세요. STC 팀의 테란 이시양입니다. 오늘 경기는 떨어지면 바로 예선행이라서 긴장도 많이 했는데 다행히 이렇게 승리하게 돼서 기쁜 것 같습니다.
안녕하세요. STC 소울의 프로토스 조성호입니다. 오늘 코드 A 첫 데뷔전을 치르게 됐는데요. 일단 이겨서 기분 좋고요. 앞으로도 연맹 소속 선수들하고 많이 하게 될 텐데 앞으로 더 멋진 경기들을 보여드릴 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
And there are our results broken down entirely.
Yeah, Sirius with no problems at all against Salmosa. Inori could hold a candle to Keen Skill, and then we had the 2 STX players win their matches as well. You just saw them in the interviews.
Yeah, and surprisingly so, Yu-Gi-Oh, not Yo-Gi-Oh, was actually knocked out of the GSL. He was the king of Code A,
yeah, it's a small miracle. The king is dead, long live the king.
Some people might call that bogus, but Oz was knocked out as well, completely out of the GSL. Now here are our matches today, starting with the STC versus BBoongBBoong. As mentioned earlier, the next up, things could get a little bit sad if NestT is not able to defeat Sparta.
Yeah, if NestT is actually defeated by the Terran player, then we might see him wake up, and we don't want that to happen. Bomber later on has to prove his skill against Baby, one of the Terran players who was able to advance to the Code A qualifier. He actually beat Younghwa in the final of his Code A qualifier grid.
Yeah, and that's saying a lot considering Younghwa is currently 10-0 in Team League. Suho Shin, of course, is going to be the final player against Terminator. Suho Shin not practicing full-time right now, doing a lot of all-in builds, but he's still able to beat crazy players like Seed in macro games. Nobody knows why.
But he kind of pulls it off.
He does. He's a crazy player. Well, here's our first match.
Yeah.
STC versus BBoongBBoong. BBoongBBoong coming up from Code B. He's been around. He even flew around the up and down matches a while. The STC is coming in from being in Code A last season. He wasn't able to get in through the up and down matches, but this guy is a very formidable opponent right now.
Yeah, the one thing that always amazes me about BBoongBBoong is that he always bounces back. He was so close of actually being in Code S, then he dropped down, and it's just a sad story if you think about it, but this guy, he just does not give up.
Yeah, he really doesn't. And I have to say the STC is a player who's usually patient, loves to play the long game. He's not scary until mid-game, I feel like. In the early game, the STC is probably not going to kill you, especially not on a map like Abyssal City, a very large map.
I'm actually really impressed by BBoongBBoong that he's able to play in this Code A season once again after he got knocked out the last time and was able to win a qualifier now. But the STC is a very strong opponent, so we are heading into game number 1. Abyssal City, as already pointed out by Wolf, will be the first map. A map where we've actually seen a lot of double barracks openings by Terrans. Let's find out what the STC has in mind. In Abyssal City, game number 1 in this best of 3 at the GSL Code A round of 48, brought to you by Colin Wolf. That's not us, by the way.
That's not me.
No, that's
not
Legend.
it.
Finally, Legend is in the game as well, and let's start things off here at the GSL with our Terran player. Starting for Quantic, starting to the left side of the map, we have
Quantic TheStC.
currently staying at the Startail house together with
Golden. Brought his buddy Golden here to the studio, in fact.
a lot of Startail players today, and of course the 2 Quantic players also here. Golden was not able to qualify for Code A this time. To the right, we have a fellow Zerg player. This is starting in the blue for the Prime team, the one and only
BBoongBBoong Prime.
Named himself after farting noises. He's looking a little bit high school there with that haircut.
The thing is that BBoongBBoong actually lost to a Vampire the last time he was playing in the GSL. It was a little bit of a weird series. Vampire able to win here with a 2-1, and then BBoongBBoong got knocked out. The season before he was so close of actually ending up in Code S, but now he is back. He was in Code B, but he's back. Will he be able to take down the STC though? As mentioned before, a really strong Terran player who did so well at DreamHack Valencia.
Yeah. I think the STC is my actual pick to win this best of 3 if I had to choose.
You know, my heart beats for BBoongBBoong, but at the same time, my brain says that the STC is the favorite player here.
Yeah.
And it all depends on if BBoongBBoong can bring his A game. Sometimes we've seen matches from him that were just incredible, but he played so well, just plays on a completely different level, and then the next day, for some reason, he's just not able to just perform as well.
You're right. He struggles sometimes with his multitasking, and I don't know why that becomes the case. You know, in the late game, it seems like some of his players just out-harass him to death, and he kind of falters there. He is playing a very greedy build, going for gas before pool here, which really works out. And he even chose this before seeing the command center first, which he's about to find out with his Overlord.
He gets the pool though. We have already seen one player today go for a double hatch before pool on this map in particular, as he scouted a 14cc, and BBoongBBoong knows now what's going on. He didn't show the Overlord, so the Overlord is now safely tucked away on this high ground position, but he has all the information that he needs. And talking a little bit about the STC, I already mentioned that he did well at DreamHack Valencia, but just let's talk a little bit about the matchup that he's playing here. He was facing 2 Zerg players at the said tournament, and he took down, for example, TLO, the German Zerg player with 2-0, didn't have any problem at all defeating him. And then later on he met a Vortex, who did really well not only at Valencia but also as the WCS Europe Finals. And well, Vortex was able to take 1 map of the STC, but in the end he lost the best of 3.
Yeah, Vortex is definitely looking like he is on top of his game right now.
The winner prediction currently on screen, and it basically reflects what Wolf and I were already mentioning. The STC definitely the fan favorite here, some people, but BBoongBBoong at least with 40%.
Yeah, not too landslide-ish there. We don't have one of our 80-20 splits or anything like that, but BBoongBBoong was pulled out of gas. The STC went for gas before barracks, something we didn't mention, but I'm sure you guys saw earlier, so he's going to have a pretty quick little Hellion push out here if he chooses to. Both of his orbitals are now done, and BBoongBBoong getting that speed upgrade to be able to defend a potential 3rd base that's far away. With the pullout here, probably not going to be going for fast tech off of 2 bases, although that has been a little bit more common recently. Not on this map, though.
The last time that we've seen BBoongBBoong was at the WCS South Korea. He was a little bit unlucky with his first round match. He actually had to face Squirtle, and did not stand a chance against the strong Protoss player. Dreamer TT was the second opponent, and the Terran, well, he lost 1 map to BBoongBBoong, but it was the Zerg player who lost the best of 3. So right now we have him with speed, we have him with the additional Queens on 2 bases still, and he will be able to fend off the Hellions without a problem at all. And he actually goes for a build that we've seen occasionally, where you try to harass with a lot of Zerglings after you finish speed. And these speedling attacks can be quite devastating.
Yeah, they can be really, really dangerous. If you don't have your bunker in place, you're really vulnerable. Oh, but he's spotted with the SCV. This is really crucial. Now he's keeping his Hellions on the high ground here, and he's just going to rally his SCVs into his main, lift the command star when it's appropriate.
That's not going to be a big problem for the SSC to deal with now that he knows what's coming. His command center on the low ground will be lifted, and he has the Hellions on the high ground, so that's not going to do too much. Yep. A really unfortunate situation for BBoongBBoong Prime here.
Cancels the SCV, takes about a 30% damage on that orbital though, before lifting it up there. But yeah, you're right, it's very unfortunate for BBoongBBoong. This is a huge commitment. That's 26 lings, is 13 potential drones that he could have.
And it's definitely a problem, because now that STC knows what's coming, he can't just retreat into the main base, can use the funnel at the choke point in order to make sure that the Zerglings don't do any damage at all. BBoongBBoong, on the other hand, he has the map presence now. He can be a little bit more aggressive, he can control the map. The Xel'Naga watchtowers try to go in for a poke, but he has to be very careful about the Hellions.
Oh, this is risky. You know, with the Hellions getting in a good position, he's just going to lose everything. And the factory blocks the lings out. The Hellions could actually just come back in here and kill all of them. He does get a few SCVs, but that's just it. Gets away, lost several lings there though. A risky choice, but he saw with the Overlord, the Hellions were out of position, decided to go for it.
Hey, he had to retreat here. It was definitely a bit of a problem, especially when those Zerglings tried to chase after the Hellions. The Hellions retreated at the choke and were able to use the funnel to their advantage. A lot of damage dealt to the Zerglings of BBoongBBoong Prime.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I just verified, he only killed one SCV there. The other SCV that was killed was at the natural when the SCV was scouting the lings in the first place.
And BBoongBBoong now, of course, trying to fall back into a macro game. We have him with the double evolution chamber for his double upgrades. And the third base as well. He's trying to negate those Hellions to make sure that the map presence is his, that he has control over what's happening here. But the STC has a fair amount of Hellions already on the map and can definitely put the pressure onto the Zerg player.
And his control is insane, you know, with his Hellions, pulling his weakened Hellions back. Really nice micro there. And he skipped Banshees and cut those out of the equation, so he went right into Barracks Selection. So his Marine count is starting to get pretty scary already. He's up to 15, making 2 medevacs right now. Yeah, his third is a little bit late, but so was BBoongBBoong's because he made all those lings. So this is not a position where the STC is going to feel uncomfortable economically.
And one problem for BBoongBBoong will be that his creep spread so far is not really great. So if the STC actually decides to be a bit more aggressive with the first few Hellions that he has, and this is the case right now, he will be able to get very, very far, as there's no creep spread by BBoongBBoong at all. Just 2 tumors, that's I think all that he's got. Yeah. And this will of course also help the STC when it comes down to his micro against the Banelings. The Banelings nest is just now being built, but without the additional speed upgrade, they rely on the creep oh so heavily.
And the Hellions right now are kind of showing themselves a little bit early, but the medevacs are going the opposite direction. There's no Overlord to spot this location. He already took over the watchtower to make sure this couldn't be seen. So this is going to be a scary 2-pronged attack. He's only got lings, and they're going to have to go in 2 directions here.
I don't think they can pull this off. BBoongBBoong has to be very, very careful here. Here comes the drop in the main base, and he can't just stim in. That's exactly what he does. And the mineral line is completely exposed.
Yeah, and he's not even pulling his drones right away. Now he does. He could go for the spawning pool here if he wants to. Now the drones are gone. Hellions, though, do get eaten up by lings at the top. Spawning pool is going to fall. He scouts the lair timing here. And the drop relatively effective with that.
Overlords!
Oh, the Overlords!
He's losing 1, 2, 3, and gets out just in time. Not losing too many Marines here. Really well done by the STC. A well-executed attack.
Yeah, and now, you know, he can't make any more lings. Luckily for him, he's already got 48 on the map, but this could have been a situation where the STC could follow up with a lot more aggression.
You know, as soon as he realized that the spawning pool would die, he built a lot of Zerglings, I think 22. And at this point now, another Overlord dies. Once again, supply blocking our Zerg player, but he at least was able to take down one of the medevacs.
Yeah, and he's not only that, but he killed the majority of the Marines in the second one. So this drop play with the first few medevacs is no longer going to be useful. He's getting his Spire now, as his upgrades do continue. He's slightly ahead of the SSC in that regard. Baneling speed is on the way now as well. The question is, how much will he commit to Muse? Will he just make a few for drop defense? Because the timing of these Muse right now is not that strong, I feel. He's not going to be able to do too much damage with them.
It's a pretty late Muta timing that he has currently. It's already the 12-minute mark, and the Spire is not even done just yet. The Marines die, but at least now he has some information about what's going on, and with the Marines guarding the third base, he won't suffer any damage at all. Actually quite nice that BBoongBBoong was at least able to force 1 stim out of his opponent.
That's all he really got there was that stim. Second factory finishing up for the STC right now, who will begin second factory siege tank production as soon as that is done. Right now his siege tank count is getting pretty high. He's already got 3rd out, 4th one is on the way. And he's considering moving out. I just don't feel like it's a very good option at this point. Considering that BoongBoong still has so many lings on the map, and the creep spread is, while it's not perfect, it's decent enough to where you can see this coming in time.
It's getting a lot better now.
Yeah.
The thing is with the Mutalisks on this map, you can do a lot of damage. This is one of the maps where Mutalisks are very, very strong. You can, of course, shut down the drop play, which is very important here. But at the same time, there is a lot of high and low ground positions that you can try to exploit a little bit. But first of all, he needs to deal with this drop that he did not spot so far, I think.
No, yeah, he has no idea. He had no overlords in the path. There was only one overlord to the north of the base. He did not see it. He's trying to distract right now in the middle of the map. The problem for him, though, is he's not going to be able to pick up and get out because the mutas are here.
That's actually the best thing that could happen for BoongBoong if he's able to force the... Oh, he gets the cancel, yes.
He gets the cancel, and he's going to kill this drop. He could have caught all the units in the middle of the map, but he just didn't see them. Scan goes down. He's not only going to lose the queen, but several tumors here as well. The STC's pressure is starting to work out for him really nicely right now. But the thing is, BoongBoong doesn't absolutely need that hatchery right now, so canceling it there was not a huge loss to him. It's just a frustrating thing he's going to have to face right now.
He can rebuild it, and if he wants to, he can also try to get another base, as he definitely has the minerals to pull it off. He's lacking a little bit in gas, but that's something that he will probably try to change very soon. Taking the 2 gas at his 4th base should happen in just a few seconds. But those Mutalisks are now in a position where they can actually pick off a tank if they are getting into a good spot. And this is very dangerous for the STC. There are a lot of Zerg units on the map, and the Zerg is just looking for an opening.
Yeah, and he may have found one. The tanks are still siege, but there's not that many Marines here.
At the same time, those Banelings do a nice amount of damage, and the Mutalisks now take care of the siege tank, killing so many of them. The Medivacs also dying, and BoongBoong with a lot of damage done. The Marine count is dropping. Another siege tank being taken out. This is actually looking really good for the Prime player.
Oh, it absolutely is. The Muta's doing so much damage here. He's magic boxing the Thor, taking a few hits on his Mutas, but most of them survive. Goes to the main, may be able to pick off one of these Medivacs, and he does.
The Zerglings also run into the main base, and now suddenly the STC is faced with a choice, either dealing with the Zerglings or with the Mutalisks. Really well played by BoongBoong.
Yeah.
Putting a lot of stress onto the STC.
Absolutely, and great game sense by BoongBoong to know that you can take that fight, because taking that fight with your Banelings and your Mutas is walking a very thin line. If you don't have enough Banelings, if you don't get those hits off, you're not only going to lose all your Lings, but you may lose half or more of your Mutas as well when you try to fly in there like that. But well executed, knew exactly how much he needed to go for it, and that was a great trade for him. Really, like you said, putting the pressure on the STC, keeping him away from his 4th base right now.
BoongBoong definitely won the battle, but so far he hasn't won the war just yet. He's going for the hive tech now. The transition started, the first defense on the map, but that's a problem here.
Yeah, only loses 1, but it still is a problem. And this attack is going to be another problem he will face. He's very focused on the Scuba Marines in the south, but he's got to be worried about his drones in the north. 2 drones barely survived there.
Yeah, he has to fend this attack off and make sure that he gets the gas once again. This is one of the problems that BoongBoong definitely has, his scouting with the Overlords. I feel that he could, at least in the high ground, position another Overlord so far. We haven't seen a Viking for the STC.
There's 2 Medivacs going to the south. One of the SCVs was set to repair it because it has 12 hit points left, but the SCV actually falls short because it can't follow the Medivacs all the way down there. One of these Medivacs, like I said, 12 hit points, going to die very soon, but they will both be on load, so Mutalisks alone will not be enough. Here come the Lings, though, they're streaming in. Yeah, the Zerglings are already in position, so very well played by BoongBoong. He paid attention to the minimap, saw exactly what was coming, and now the Queen's taking down the first Medivac. While a few Marines are actually now heading over to the base once again. There are just no structures, no spine crawlers, no spore crawlers, and this is starting to become a problem. Yeah, this certainly is. He's losing a lot of units doing this harass, but it's more trouble for BoongBoong than it is trouble for the STC. He's trading really well every single time he's going to get this gas, it looks like. If he decides to target it, nope. Going to lose his Marines there, but the Ultralisk Cavern is an interesting choice. That's what BoongBoong is going to be going for here. He does not want Broodlords. And the composition he's facing makes it, I mean, it's an interesting choice. I'm not saying that it's the wrong choice, but it's not the one I expected. Yeah, me neither. Ultralisk, he has to make sure that he attacks at a good position, that he's able to circumvent the siege tanks or just catch them off guard, because if he attacks into a sieged up Terran player on a map like this, there are a lot of places where the Ultralisk can get stuck, and then suddenly he can build a close. You're so right, there's so many ramps on this map that the Ultralisks are pretty difficult to use. A few Banelings here getting caught for free. What I like about BoongBoong's play is that he's really focused on his upgrades. He's getting +3/+3, also of course the Adrenaline Glands, but he needs to just dump a few of those minerals into spine crawlers, especially at his 4th base. That's something that just didn't happen so far. Yeah, and he's gonna really wish he had when these Marines run in. It makes him so vulnerable. But speaking of vulnerable, the STC's planetary is not done yet. But BoongBoong does not capitalize on this. Now he turns around, he decides to go in. This planetary will have to be cancelled. He needs to lift. Will he lift it?
He's going to lift here for sure. At the same time, the fourth base of BoongBoong has already been taken out. We have a few infestors headed to the top. And he actually didn't lift.
And his SCVs were also transferred at the wrong time, so he's going to lose all of them. This is great for BoongBoong.
This is going to get ugly, Wolf.
This is already getting ugly as now the Ultras come from the other side. He's taking off Siege Tanks with an Ultras and a pack of Mutas.
He needs to be a little more careful here. 183 supply against 155 in favor of the Prime player, losing one infest here. But
losing
nice
his infestation
at least
hit.
Using the bundle. And here come now the Ultralists. Finally a good spot where he can really put them to some good use, even assisted by the Mutalists.
Yeah,
a
he's
really nice position.
He's made a great team with these Mutalists and the Ultralists together. They work really well together depending on what sort of composition you're facing. If there's not enough Marines to help out there, you can just demolish those tanks so quickly.
That was BoongBoong inventing a new ice cream flavor. It's the STC Crunch coming from two sides.
Yeah, man.
I can tell you one thing, that stuff tastes good.
It certainly does. Right now, the main base is mined out, so the STC's drop here is not going to be too effective, especially considering there's not very many tech structures here. But he is going to force some lanes back in here, trade decently against somebody. He's going to have to pick up against this Ultra.
Yeah, the Ultralists having a good time against those Marines. They take a little bit, but yeah, he has to get out of there. He needs Marauders, and he's building them now.
He's in an awkward position now because his economy is not what it once was. He wasn't able to hold on to that planetary in the south, so it's very hard for him to remax, whereas BoongBoong has remaxed again already. He's got a good composition, and he's building a bank.
You know, it's so important for BoongBoong to still have a few Mutalists on the map now so that he can still deal with the drops. This was something that he did earlier already, not as well as he could have, but it's still good enough to make this work. And as long as he has Mutalists, it's going to be so hard for the SCC to just drop his opponent and take down the economy, and this might actually be one of the last fights here.
Yeah, it certainly may be, because there's so many Ultras here. I just don't think SCC has the firepower he needs. The Marauders stutter stepping, but he loses all of his siege tanks. The Marauders being chased by the Speedlings now. The Medivacs can't even pick up to save them.
You know, while we don't have any Thors in the game, I would really like BoongBoong to build a few additional Mutalists in addition to what he has on the ground. That would help him so much. Without the Thors, there's just not a lot that he can do. Marines is not what he needs against the Ultralists.
Especially not when he's kiting against Ultralists, you know? You can't kill Mutas and kite against Ultras at the same time. You know, one thing that I feel the SSC is doing a bit wrong in this game is when you get in this situation as a Terran player where you still have your base, you still have your income, you can remax. If you keep sending small squads of units around the map to do harassment, you don't do any damage, you keep losing those forces, you never remax, you never get to that maxed out Terran army that's scary for a Zerg to deal with, even if the Terran's down on economy. And the SSC, I feel like, I don't want to say he threw away too many units, but his harassment units in the mid-game here and now going into the late game, it's just not been very effective. He's lost so much trying to do little things like this.
He wasn't able to force an engagement in his terms, that's definitely true. So at this point he's trying it once again. Here come the Zerglings with Adrenaline Lance and heavily upgraded, moving in. The Siege Tanks doing some damage while another force of the Terran player is now aiming for the fourth base. But the tanks on the low ground are too exposed. The Ultralists are moving in, and it doesn't look like the SCC stands a chance here. It's already 80 supply down.
Yeah, he's not really able to make any of the fights work in his favor. The hatchery to the north will die, but there's one to the southeast, and Ultras now working on these depots and factories. Mutalists even camping the production facilities. I think the STC may be done here in game number one.
Wow, the Hash survives the 60 hit points. GG! This is it. Game one ends in favor of BoongBoong.
Taking a sip of Pod 6. BoongBoong known for his eating and drinking ceremonies. In this case, though, I think he just needs a little bit of energy after that crazy game.
He shows us once again how good he can actually be with a good execution. The map at some points also working in his favor. He has already mentioned earlier, the STC was just not in a position where he could force an engagement that was in his favor on a good position.
Well, this is a very stressed out BoongBoong. He looks so relieved, but it's not over yet. And I think that's what the Prime coach is trying to stress him. You know, good job there. You got into a few tight corners, but in the end, you're able to break through. The Mutalist choice, you know, we were a little bit skeptical at first. It seemed a little bit late. How can he use them except for drops? But he actually picked off dropships and siege tanks. That one attack where he got in the main base of the Mutas and the Lings, that was, I think, a turning point in the game because the SSC lost so much ground there. Then the next point was when he didn't lift his orbital. Losing that orbital meant losing so much income, made it very difficult for him to remax.
What he did really well was that he did not focus on the muralists. He only built the initial 8 and I think then 2 later on, but he didn't try to get this high muralist count and end the game with them. He always tried to circumvent the army in order to pick up a tank or 2, but he focused heavily on his ground units, and that was definitely the key. This is one of the reasons why we never really saw a high Thor count. The only Thor that the STC build was taken out with the muralists early on, so that definitely helped the Zerg back quite a bit. Later on he could have produced a few more, but it was already a win-win situation for him anyways.
Yeah, it absolutely was. And the Quantic STC, man, looking like he is trying to pump himself up in there. He's got his QCEN DT35 ready for game number 2, which will be on Cloud Kingdom. And man, the Prime Coach has a lot to say to BBoongBBoong. And, you know, this kind of support is so useful. Even though the STC's friend Golden came here, man, I'm just not seeing him in the booth. He's kind of on his own right now, and that may be what he wants. That may be how he focuses himself. Some players prefer to be alone after a loss like this.
I'm really excited for the second game. Cloud Kingdom is a great map, but the countdown has already started. Our second Terran versus Zerg map is going to be posted in just a few seconds. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for game number 2 between the STC and BBoongBBoong at the GSL Code A, the round of 48. Brought to you by Colin Wolf.